Hey everyone, today's the release date for the highly anticipated Star Wars Jedi Survivor game by EA. In honor of the game coming out, I thought I would do a review on the brand new Star Wars The Black Series Gaming Grades Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis figure himself. I got this guy at GameStop Canada, and I gotta say he is quite a good figure and definitely does capture the character pretty well from the brand new game. But that being said, he is an entirely new sculpt, so I do have a lot to say. So without further ado, let's get into the review for the brand new Star Wars The Black Series Gaming Grades Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis figure himself. Now, as always, before I go over the figure, I do want to start off with the packaging for this guy. Now, he's actually quite a big deal for the Black Series line, as he is the first time we are getting a Gaming Grades figure in the main line. That's a big deal because if you didn't know, all the other Gaming Grades figures that we have gotten previously, as you can see, we're at 17 and beyond at this point, have all been really just reuses. We've had some new parts here and there, but we haven't gotten a figure which was using an entirely new sculpt. But this guy is the precedent for that. He is using an entirely new sculpt, and he isn't going to be the last, as we do have two other figures coming in the Gaming Grades line in the main line in the next wave, I believe, being Bastila Shan and Darth Malik. I believe that's their names. Let me know if that is the case in the comments down below, but hopefully that does open the door for us getting Starkiller in the near future. But with that aside, let's take a look at the packaging itself. On the front, we have a very nice rendered image of the Cal Kestis figure himself, along with little BD1 down there in the left corner, Gaming Grades logo, Star Wars The Black Series logo up top, Star Wars Jedi Survivor for the Gaming Grades line in a very nice color of blue. Always loved the blue that they use for the Gaming Grades line. Hasbro, Cal Kestis, 4+ plastic-free packaging, don't choke. On the side here, we do have the Gaming Grades image for Cal Kestis. I really do like the pose that we have him in, especially with BD1 just they're gazing on his shoulder. There you have Cal Kestis on the bottom. I do really like that image though overall. On the back, we have his bio reading, Cal Kestis, one of the last surviving members of the Jedi Order. Cal Kestis and his valiant droid companion BD1 openly resist the growing power and domination of the evil galactic empire. We have the same rendered image on the back as we do on the front. Number 17 in the Gaming Grades line, although he is not the most recent, as I believe the Rocket Trooper was like number 22, which is kind of odd as he is after the upcoming two mainline Gaming Grades figures, so they do release those very weirdly. On this side, we do have another render along with the measurements of the figure being 6 inches exactly and 15.2 centimeters. Plastic-free packaging, nothing really on the top except an infinite void of black and some tape. And on the bottom there we have the price at GameStop Canada, which is very shocking because this is cheaper than a normal Gaming Grades figure and he is a brand new sculpt. That's kind of weird how that works out, but anyways, that's all that I really have to say on the packaging. So let's get on to the Cal Kestis figure himself. Now, included with this Cal Kestis, we do have 3 accessories, being the BD1, his blaster, as well as his lightsaber. I'm going to start off with BD1 here, as he is arguably, well, not even arguably, just straight up the most important accessory included with this guy, and all Black Series figures, frankly, because who doesn't want a BD1 included with their figure? This is my first time getting the white BD1 droid, which is really what I was wanting to get. I really did like this version, but I wanted to have the original, as I was just used to that mostly from all the Cal Kestis that I've seen. I do love this skin, and I did get a lot of use out of this. I'm just very happy to have this version now. As you can see, they do have very similar sculpts, although I did notice something at the legs. I believe they are new sculpts, as this guy does have this yellow wire going down and this one does not. So either this guy had brand new legs and this guy's reusing the legs from the very first release, which I don't have, or this guy just has brand new sculpt. I believe that probably is the case, the latter. But that being said, very similar nonetheless. For the paint with this BD1, there isn't a lot of paint added on this figure. I do wish he would have had a black wash or something like that, as just this base plasticky white sculpt is very, very standard, especially with all this additional sculpt that we have. It would have really brought the sculpt out overall, but still not too bad with what we do have here. We do have that silver line going on top. This antenna right here is kind of breaking off, and I'm really sad about that. I will just glue it right away, probably in between takes, but still definitely keep that in mind with your figure, as I imagine it will be just as skinny as this one. And then the legs do have the same articulation as the previous ones. As you can see, you do get that amount of range, and they also kind of do go out and in, so there is a lot of articulation on this guy for being as small as he is. Other than that though, you do have the eyes, which do look very good and certainly iconic to the character himself. A little bit of paint there on the torso, or whatever you want to call that, and then the legs do have a little bit of red paint as well. But other than that, there isn't a lot much more to go over here. He does, of course, have head articulation. But without further ado, let's get into the next accessory. And here we have the lightsaber that is included with this Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis. As you can see, it does have quite a similar design to the previous game's lightsaber, or at least the lightsaber that he used most often. Here we do have it. This is the one that was included with the Galaxy Packaging Cal Kestis, the first Galaxy Packaging figure at that. Very similar in design, but at the same time, a lot smaller this new one is. I think overall, though, I do prefer the sculpt that we have going on here. It just seems a lot more clean, and you do have a very nice texture here on where you would majority of the time hold the lightsaber. I don't think you would want to hold it up here, as you would probably hurt yourself, but as you can see, they do have quite a similar design. This one is just a lot bigger, but that being said, I do think I prefer the paint that we have on this one. It just stands out a lot more. This is just that really plasticky looking paint. It's not even a paint, it's just molded in this color, and I'm not a huge fan of that. It kind of takes away a little bit from this figure, but that being said, you can of course take the blade out, as you can with most lightsabers. As always, be careful with these lightsabers with Hasbro figures, as they tend to break majority of the time, rather, at least for me. Now of course you can attach this lightsaber to his belt. It's very different in the way that you do attach it. Normally it's kind of like a L bracket sticking out in which you like hook it and then move it down, but here it is just a circular peg sticking out, which is fine enough. You just stick it on the bottom of the lightsaber just like so, and if you don't adjust it, it kind of sticks out, but if you do move it down just like so, it does look pretty good in general. Now, the last accessory that we have included with this Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis is his brand new gun, which a lot of people are excited for, as he did not have a gun or blaster in the first game. This really looks realistic, as I kind of mentioned with the TVC Cal Kestis from Jedi Survivor. It just looks like a revolver or something that you would have in real life. But that being said, it does have a little bit of Star Wars flair to make it seem in that world enough. And that, of course, does go into his holster just on the side. Just slide it in like so. I love the paint that is on there. Very shiny silver. Kind of wish that would have been on the lightsaber, but still, that being said, both of them do look very good on his belt. Now, with all the accessories aside, we can focus on the sculpt itself. Now, as always, I do kind of want to start here with the head sculpt, and that also is sadly probably my biggest gripe with this figure, because at least to me, I don't think they did a really good job with this. Certainly, it kind of does capture the likeness of Cameron Monaghan, I believe is his name, but that being said, it just looks off, and he looks a little bit cockeyed. And also, the main thing with this, at least to my eye, I asked my friend this, and he didn't really agree, so I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say, but at least to me, his face looks like it's like slanted. His lips look like they're leaning more to the left side here. I don't know if that's just me. My friend's figure also had that same thing going on. It could just be all the figures, but I know the TVC one didn't have anything like that, so trust me, the actor does not look like that, but still definitely something to mention nonetheless. Now, something else to mention is if you look at the box and the render of the face sculpt, this looks so much better. It looks very much like the character, and it kind of looks like more of a Padawan Cal Kestis, at least to me, and that is definitely not what this figure is supposed to be going for, as he's supposed to have a beard, which you definitely do have a little bit of shadow going on here, but it is not there as much as the TVC one, which overall I do think I prefer this TVC head sculpt over this one. Not saying that this one is terrible by any means, I just think they could have done a better job with this design overall. Now, moving on to the rest of this figure, here we have his brand new vest from the game, which I'm quite a big fan of that design, and at least to my eyes, it does look quite accurate to the brand new game, at least the trailers that I have seen. And another thing I really like about this vest is this added texture, which is not on the TVC one. As you can see, this one still looked quite good, but I think I prefer the body on this figure, and I prefer the head sculpt on this one. I really like that texture. Adds a lot more to this figure that wouldn't have been there. Some black wash, once again, would really bring that sculpt out. And another thing I really like with this figure is this flap, especially because unlike the TVC one, we do have an additional little bit of blue paint on there. Definitely does add a little bit more. They should have painted this one. I don't know why they wouldn't have. This really reminds me, though, of Return of the Jedi Final Battle Luke. Maybe he does meet Luke in this game. Who knows? We will just have to wait and see. And another thing I really like is this just little splash of yellow that we have on him. Adds a little bit of color that wouldn't have been there otherwise. Other than that, though, you have that texture continued on the back of the figure, as well as this strap going around all of the torso. But that kind of is all that we have going on here with this vest. It is just a overlay over the body that is there. The arms also do look quite good on this figure, but that being said, nothing too crazy. It is kind of just a rolled up sleeve look, but I do think that does work with the cowl. On this side, we just have a bland empty forearm, and on this side we have the same thing, although we have a little bit of a gunmetal gray band. I don't exactly know what that is. If you know, let me know what it is in the comments down below. But other than that, not much more going on with the arms, although I do like how they combined with the vest. I really like that color combo. The belt, however, has a really interesting color combination. It kind of just cuts off right there in the center, and same thing on the back. He also does have two belts, which is very interesting. You can kind of see what the torso does look like underneath the vest. You have a little bit of silver paint there on his first belt, and then here it's just one color on this side, and then on this side, like I said, it just cuts off into that other color. And then you have a little bit of leather texture though on this brown side, which I am quite a big fan of. Definitely does work with that texture on the torso as well. On the back, you have a little bit of texture on the brown side. On this side, the whole way around, you have a texture, but other than that, there really isn't a lot much more going on besides where you would attach the lightsaber. Moving down to to the legs, on both sides, we do have these pouches on the thighs. Even on the side with the holster, you would think that that would get in the way, but it does not. Another thing that I didn't mention in the belt portion is you can't actually remove it. There is a little bit of give, but that being said, like I just said, you can't remove it. And another thing I noticed, I don't know if this is a stupid question, but they have pockets in Star Wars. I kind of just noticed that. I saw that he had pockets. I was like, huh, I feel like I haven't seen that on any other Star Wars figure. I definitely could be and likely am wrong with that, but still just a little thought that popped up in my mind. Other than that, though, you do have a little bit of that leather texture that is on this holster, but that texture is really prominent on the boots, and it does have that same paint that was also on the holster. But other than that, for the boots, not much more going on besides these two little cylinder things that are on both sides. Maybe Cal has rocket boots, probably not, but still something to mention. A little line going down, a little strap there also on the foot, and then other than that, I think I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to with this figure. I didn't mention he has a little bit of gold right there on his first belt, but yeah, I think we are ready to get into Cal Kestis' articulation. Now, as for the articulation on this Cal Kestis, it is quite good overall, though there are a few things here that I'm not a big fan of. The head does go up that much, down, side, full 360. You do also have that neck joint, which does add a little bit more movement that wouldn't have been there. Arms go out that much, and you do have a hidden butterfly joint, which moves quite well. That's the range that you get. Down, full 360, single jointed elbows, which go in a little bit more than 90. They also do rotate. Both hands are on a vertical hinge, so up, down, and full 360. Now, the problem that I have with this figure is related to the ab crunch. The vest here, which I mentioned was a overlay, kind of does get in the way, as all the movement you get is just right there lower on the torso, just like so, kind of just rotates. Full 360 you also do get, but yeah, not the greatest movement there on the torso, but still not terrible. You still can get the poses that you probably want. I just wish they would have done something a little bit better, although that being said, I don't really know what they could have done to make it better. The legs do kick forward that much, and it is the same thing on both sides, although the holster kind of gets in the way, or rather the belt does get in the way, although now that I'm looking at it, not really. But back, splits, upper thigh cut, single jointed knees, which also do rotate, no boot rotation, but the ankles do go up, down, and beautiful ankle rock and pivot. Now, first up for comparisons, here we have our Jedi Survivor Black Series Cal Kestis next to the TVC Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis, as well as the Galaxy Packaging Deluxe Cal Kestis from Fallen Order, along with all of the BD1s that are included with each of the figures. Here we have the Cal Kestis next to the B1 Battle Droid, also from Jedi Survivor, as well as the 13th Battalion Clone Trooper from Jedi Fallen Order. Here we have Cal Kestis next to the Rocket Launcher Trooper from Fallen Order, as well as the Scout Trooper with the Electro Staff, also from Fallen Order. Here we have Cal Kestis next to the Fallen Order Purge Trooper with Electro Staff, as well as a standard Black Series Stormtrooper. And lastly, for comparisons, here we have the Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis next to Saw Gerrera from Rogue One, as well as the Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Vader. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but unlike the Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order, you don't have a port on the back of this Cal Kestis to put the BD1, but there are ways around it. You kind of just have to maneuver it like this, just put the legs in backwards. That's how I would recommend. Just put them in the shoulder, just like so. I don't imagine that is how he looks in the game, but it's better than him just being on the ground, at least in my opinion. Now, lastly, as for my final thoughts on this Black Series Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis figure, even though I do have a few gripes here and there, I still am happy with the overall sculpt. The only real problems I have is the head sculpt as well as the ab articulation, but other than that, it is a very well put together figure by Hasbro and a very well sculpted figure at that. Now, for my rating of this figure, with the price and account kind of just being a standard Black Series price here in Canada, I do like this guy, so I think I'm going to give him like in between an 8 and an 8.5, so let's land at an 8.3. I think that is a fair rating. But as always, let me know what you think of this guy in the comments below. Do you like him? Do you not? Are you going to pick him up? Are you not? I would recommend getting him if you do want a Cal Kestis in the Black Series, or rather in your Black Series collection, as the previous two are harder to get at this point. Even though those are the more recognizable designs, I think this will be more recognizable in the long term, especially because the game just came out today, as I mentioned. But that is all that I have to say about that. Until my next video, thank you so much for watching this one. I have been Jagger Collector. He has been Cal Kestis and BD1, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.